You buy a plant thinking this time you will be different, and 2 weeks later it is begging for mercy. I used to be that guy until I realized some plants actually prefer being ignored. These are the plants that do not need a babysitter or a reminder app, just a little space, and they handle the rest. We are talking about real survivors that stay green, even when you forget they exist. If you travel a lot or just have a busy life, these plants are about to become your best friends. No daily misting, no complicated routines, just simple care and steady growth. By the end of this video you will know exactly which plants forgive you for being human. Stick around because one of these plants can go weeks without water and still look brand new. Cast iron plant is basically the tough guy of houseplants, and it earned that name for a reason, because it can survive in light levels as low as 10% of full sun, which is perfect for dark corners and apartments that never see direct rays. This plant only needs watering about every 2 to 3 weeks, since its thick roots store moisture, and overwatering is honestly the only way people manage to kill it. Studies from indoor plant trials have shown it keeps steady growth even when skipped for weeks, making it a true neglect-proof plant for busy people. It handles temperature swings from 45 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit without drama, so winter drafts or summer heat will not scare it. The leaves are built like leather so they do not droop fast, and still look healthy, even when you forget care routines. It does not care about fancy soil either, just a basic, well-draining mix works fine, and it rarely needs fertilizer more than once every few months. What makes it crazy reliable is that it actually grows slower when stressed, which helps it conserve energy and survive long dry spells. This plant was even popular in Victorian homes because it lived through smoky rooms and low light conditions when most plants failed. If your lifestyle is chaotic and your schedule is unpredictable, this plant fits right in and still looks clean and classy year-round. It is the kind of plant you water when you remember, and it still shows up for you every single time. Philodendron is that chill friend who never complains no matter how messy life gets, and that is why it is one of the best low-maintenance plants on the planet. Most varieties stay healthy in light levels as low as 50 to 75 foot candles, which is basically regular room lighting and not some perfect sunny window. You only need to water it once the top inch of soil dries, which for most homes is about every 10 to 14 days, making it perfect if you forget schedules. It actually grows better when slightly ignored, because soggy soil is the only thing that really causes problems. NASA indoor air studies also found philodendrons help reduce airborne toxins, which means it works quietly while you do nothing. The leaves store moisture, so even if you miss a watering for a week or two it still looks fresh and green. It handles humidity swings without drama and stays strong in temperatures between 60 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. You do not need special soil either, just a basic potting mix with decent drainage keeps it happy for years. Fun part is that these plants can live for decades indoors, and keep trailing longer with time, even with minimal care. If you want a plant that rewards you for doing less, philodendron is that quiet hero. Air plant feels like it should be high maintenance, but it is actually one of the easiest plants you can own when you understand its rhythm. It does not need soil at all, which already removes half the work, and it lives off moisture in the air through its leaves. A simple soak in water for 20 to 30 minutes once every 7 to 10 days is enough to keep it alive, and in dry homes even every 2 weeks still works. Research on Tillandsia species shows they continue photosynthesis efficiently, even in low-nutrient environments, which explains why they survive on basically nothing. They thrive in bright indirect light, but still tolerate medium room lighting without dropping leaves. These plants are native to harsh environments like deserts and rainforests, so they are wired to handle neglect and bounce back fast. If you forget a soak, the leaves curl slightly but flatten again after the next drink, which makes them super forgiving. They also do not care about fancy fertilizers, and only need a light mist maybe once a week, if your air is very dry. The coolest part is they produce colorful blooms even when you barely think about them. For people who want greenery without soil mess or daily care, air plants are a total win. Monstera is one of those plants that looks high maintenance, but secretly loves a little neglect. It can handle light levels from medium rooms up to bright indirect sun, and studies on tropical foliage plants show it keeps steady photosynthesis, even when light drops by almost 40%. You only need to water it when the top 2 inches of soil are dry, which for most homes is about once every 10 to 14 days, and missing a week rarely hurts it. The thick aerial roots store moisture, which helps it survive dry spells without wilting fast. It also tolerates indoor humidity swings better than most large leaf plants, staying healthy between 50 and 80% humidity. Monstera grows slower in cooler rooms, which actually helps busy people because it needs less water and fewer trims. It does not demand rich soil either. Just a well-draining mix and light feeding every couple of months keeps it happy. Even if you forget to wipe its leaves, it still looks bold and glossy, because the leaf surface resists dust buildup. This plant has been shown in indoor plant trials to maintain leaf health for weeks, with irregular watering, which is rare for something this big. If you want a jungle look without a jungle routine, Monstera is the move. Snake plant is basically the king of neglect, and it almost feels unkillable once you put it in a corner and forget about it. It survives in light as low as 5 to 10% of full sun, which is why it thrives in hallways and bedrooms that barely see daylight. You only need to water it every 2 to 4 weeks because the thick upright leaves store water like a cactus, and too much care is honestly its biggest enemy. Studies on Sansevieria show it continues oxygen production at night, which makes it one of the best bedroom plants, even when you do nothing special for it. It handles temperature changes from about 50 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit without any drama. Basic well-draining soil is enough, and it rarely needs fertilizer more than once or twice a year. Even when you forget it for a month, the leaves stay firm and green instead of collapsing. It is also resistant to most common houseplant pests, which means fewer problems to deal with. People have kept these plants alive for decades with nothing more than occasional watering. If you want a plant that forgives every mistake, snake plant is that plant. ZZ plant is the definition of low effort, high reward, and it is famous for surviving conditions that kill most houseplants. It grows just fine in light as low as 25-foot candles, which is basically office lighting, and it still keeps that deep glossy shine. You only need to water it about once every 2 to 3 weeks, because its underground rhizomes store water like little tanks. Research on drought-tolerant foliage plants shows that ZZ can go more than a month without water and still recover fully, which is wild for a tropical plant. It handles dry air and random temperature changes between 55 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit without slowing down. You do not need special soil either, just a loose draining mix and you are set for years. Overwatering is the only real danger, so ignoring it is actually the safest care plan. It rarely attracts pests, and does not drop leaves easily, even under stress. Fun part is that it grows new shoots only when conditions are good, so when you finally notice growth, it feels like a reward. If your plant care style is forget and hope for the best, ZZ plant was made for you. String of pearls looks delicate, but it is built like a survivor once you stop overthinking it. Those round bead-like leaves store water, so the plant only needs a drink about every 2 to 3 weeks, and even longer in cooler rooms. It prefers bright, indirect light, but it still holds its shape in medium light without stretching fast. Trials on succulent houseplants show they can lose up to 40% of their internal moisture before showing real damage, which explains why this plant forgives missed waterings. It thrives in dry indoor air where other plants struggle, so you never have to mist it. A basic cactus soil mix is enough because soggy roots are the only real threat. If you forget it for a couple of weeks, the pearls might soften a bit, but they plump back up quickly after watering. It also grows slowly when stressed, which helps it survive neglect without collapsing. People often kill this plant by loving it too much, not by forgetting it. If you want a trailing plant that actually prefers you to back off, string of pearls is the one. Areca Palm gives you that soft tropical vibe without acting like a diva, which is why it works even when your care routine is messy. It grows happily in medium to bright indirect light, but it still keeps its color when light levels drop by around 30%, which makes it forgiving in real homes. You only need to water it when the top layer of soil feels dry, which usually comes out to about once every 10 to 12 days. Studies on indoor palms show they keep stable leaf health even with irregular watering, as long as roots are not left sitting in water. The fronds lose moisture slowly, so missing a week does not instantly turn it brown. It also handles normal indoor humidity just fine and does not demand misting. A simple airy potting mix with good drainage keeps the roots healthy for years. Areca palms are known to improve indoor air quality and release more moisture into the room, which makes your space feel fresher with zero effort. Even when growth slows in winter, it holds its shape instead of falling apart. If you want a big leafy plant that stays chill when life gets busy, Areca Palm is a solid pick. Rubber plant is one of those plants that actually looks better when you leave it alone for a bit. Its thick, glossy leaves store moisture, so watering every 10 to 14 days is more than enough, and in cooler months even less works fine. It adapts to medium light easily, and research on ficus varieties shows they maintain steady growth, even when light drops by about 40%. Overwatering is the real danger, so skipping a week never causes panic for this plant. It tolerates dry indoor air without leaf drop and stays strong between 60 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. You do not need rich soil either, just a well-draining potting mix keeps roots healthy. The leaves resist dust and damage, so even if you forget cleaning days it still looks polished. When stressed, it slows growth instead of shedding leaves, which is rare for big leaf plants. People keep rubber plants alive for decades with minimal care, and they still look like statement pieces. If you want a bold plant that rewards neglect, rubber plant is a winner. Haworthia is the tiny plant that laughs at busy schedules, because it is built for survival first and beauty second. It thrives in bright, indirect light, but still holds its shape in medium room lighting without stretching. You only need to water it about once every 2 to 3 weeks, since its thick, fleshy leaves store enough moisture to ride out long dry spells. Studies on drought-tolerant succulents show Haworthia can lose a large portion of internal water before showing stress, which explains why mist waterings barely faze it. It prefers dry air, so there is zero need for misting or humidity tricks. A simple cactus soil mix with good drainage is all it asks for, and even basic potting soil works if you water carefully. It stays compact and does not grow fast, which means less repotting and fewer problems. Even if you forget it for a month, it usually comes back without drama after one good drink. It is also resistant to most common pests that attack houseplants. For anyone who wants a desk plant that survives neglect, Haworthia is a total champion. Parlor Palm is perfect for people who want something soft and tropical, without turning their home into a greenhouse. It naturally grows under forest canopies, so it stays healthy in light levels as low as 50-foot candles, which is basically normal indoor lighting. You only need to water it when the top inch of soil dries, which for most homes is about every 10 to 14 days. Indoor palm studies show it keeps stable leaf color even when watering schedules are inconsistent. The thin stems lose moisture slowly, so skipping a week rarely causes brown tips. It tolerates average indoor humidity and does not need daily misting to survive. A simple, well-draining potting mix works fine, and you can forget about fertilizer most of the year. It grows slowly, which is great because it means fewer trims and less stress when life gets busy. Even in winter, it holds its shape instead of collapsing. If you want an easy palm that survives real-life, Parlor Palm is your plant. Jade Plant is like that low-key friend who never asks for attention but somehow always looks put together. Those thick, glossy leaves store tons of water, so you only need to water it about once every 2 to 3 weeks, and sometimes even less in cooler months. It thrives in bright light but still holds its shape in medium rooms without stretching fast. Research on crassula species shows they maintain cell hydration far longer than most houseplants, which explains why missing waterings rarely hurts them. It prefers dry air, so no misting or humidity tricks are needed. A basic cactus soil mix with good drainage is enough, and rich soil actually causes more problems than benefits. It grows slowly, which means you are not constantly repotting or trimming. Even if you forget it for weeks, it usually comes back after one good watering. Many people keep jade plants alive for decades with almost zero effort. If you want a plant that truly thrives on neglect, jade plant is hard to beat. Aloe is the kind of plant that seems to do better the less you interfere with it. Its thick, gel-filled leaves store huge amounts of water, so it only needs a drink about once every 2 to 3 weeks, and even less in winter. It prefers bright, indirect light but still stays healthy in medium light without collapsing. Studies on aloe species show they can tolerate long drought cycles because their leaf cells retain moisture far longer than most houseplants. Dry indoor air is no problem at all, so you never have to mist it. A simple cactus soil mix is all it wants, and soggy roots are the only real threat. When stressed, it slows growth instead of dropping leaves, which is why it survives neglect so well. People often forget aloe for weeks, and it still stands firm and green. Fun bonus is you can use the gel for minor skin burns, which makes it useful as well as tough. If you want a plant that forgives everything, aloe is that plant. Tree Philodendron is one of those plants that looks like it should need constant care, but actually stays happy when you give it space. It grows well in medium to bright indirect light, but still keeps its shape when light levels drop by around 30%. You only need to water it when the top couple of inches of soil are dry, which usually means every 10 to 14 days. Indoor foliage trials show large philodendrons keep steady leaf health even with irregular watering as long as roots are not soaked. The thick stems and leaves store moisture, which helps it ride out missed waterings without drooping fast. It handles normal indoor humidity just fine and does not demand daily misting. A basic, well-draining potting mix works great, and fertilizer only every few months is plenty. When stressed, it slows growth instead of shedding leaves, which is rare for big statement plants. It also resists most common pests, so you deal with fewer problems over time. If you want a bold floor plant that thrives on being left alone, tree Philodendron is a solid choice. If you have ever felt guilty about forgetting your plants, this list should make you feel a whole lot better. These plants are not just survivors, they actually grow stronger when you stop hovering over them. Pick one or two that match your space, and let them prove that low effort can still look amazing. If this video helped you finally find your kind of plant, give it a like, and share it with someone who also forgets to water. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life plant tips that work even on your busiest days.